Good morning, beautiful people. I hope that you had a very good week. This week, we are basically closing the conversation that we started 3 weeks ago about mistakes. If you have missed the previous two videos, I really encourage you to go back and watch it. Those videos were really about if you made a mistake in your life, the only one way forward for you is to forgive yourself. This week, we're going to discuss three key rules or three key secrets if you want to reduce the number of mistakes in your life. If you don't have enough time, here are the three things that you should do if you want to reduce mistakes in your life. First thing, listen to your body. Second thing, stick to your principles. And third thing, start always with the end in mind. Let's start with the first rule. Listen to your body. It's an imperfect body, and one of its key imperfections is called mistakes. The body produces mistakes. The more the body is tired, the more likely you're going to make mistakes. Why? The reason is very simple. For any activity, for any action that you're taking, you always need a certain level of focus. For some activities, you need very low level of focus. For some other activities, you need very high level of focus. And when the body is tired, the level of focus will always drop. You always want to be in listening mode when it comes to your body, because if your body is tired and you're engaging into an activity which requires a very high level of focus, you're going to make mistakes. Driving is an activity where you need a very high level of focus. And we've seen many people getting into car accident because their level of attention, of their level of focus was just too low. They couldn't brake quick enough when someone in front of them was slowing down. They couldn't brake quick enough when someone was crossing the street or the road unexpectedly. Think about when you're doing some work. You have a job, and for some activities at work, they require a very high level of attention. You know, when you're looking at, for instance, data, or when you're drafting report, or when you have to make very important judgment about critical issues, you need a very high level of focus. If your body is telling you that it is tired, you should just take a break. It could be a 1 hour break, it could be a day break, it could be a week break, or even a couple months break, depending on what type of activity you're getting ready to get into. If you're not taking a break when your body is telling you that it is tired, you're very likely to make mistakes which you're going to regret later. Second thing that you should do if you want to reduce the number of mistakes in your life, be faithful to your principles. Many of the things that people will usually call mistakes are usually things that are far apart from what they would have wished. What people usually wish is what we call your norm. This is what you call the normal thing that should, in principle, happen. And the thing that you would be expecting to happen is usually the things that you like, the things that you value. The things that you value are usually driven from your life principles. If you don't stick to your principles, you're very likely to end up with something that is far away from those principles that you're going to call later in your life mistakes. Each of us, as we grow up, will put together a set of principles which will be guiding our daily life. And you acquire those principles through your parent education, through your own schooling. You acquire this through your professional experience, through your spiritual experience, through the stories that you're hearing and that you've been told, through also some content like the video that you're watching. Over time, you will start putting a set of rules which are supposed to guide you. The only advice that I will give you when it comes to life principles, no matter what, always try to stick to them. When you start walking away from your principles is when the problems will come, it's when the mistakes will happen. Let me tell you the story of this man. He was a finance manager in a company. he was getting ready to get married, and he had tried to put together a big party for his wedding, which was totally fine. He borrowed some money with the bank. He then borrowed some money with some friends, and yet he couldn't still match the budget of the wedding. In the very few days before the wedding, he was kind of in a very tough spot. So he then decided to try to find, the missing cash. He thought about it, and then at some point, he said to himself, look, I'm a finance manager. I'm the one managing the cash of the company. What about if I take some cash, without telling my bosses, without going through the normal processes? I take some cash. Basically, I'm stealing some cash, but I'm going only to steal for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And then after that, I will put the cash back. No one will know, no story told, no story really happened. That was the idea. And then for him, he was thinking, the audit of the finance department is like 3 months away from here, so nothing is going to happen. So he took the cash out of the treasury. He did his wedding. It was a great wedding. Then he took 3 days off and then 2 weeks off to enjoy the new life. For some reason that we still don't know, the CEO of the company decided to bring forward the audit, which was supposed to happen 3 months later. He decided to bring it and do it while the guy was still away on vacation. Guess what happened? People found out that there was a gap in the treasury, and then when he came back from his holidays, he couldn't explain. The guy lost his job, and the guy also ended up in prison. Then I'm sure that some of you would say, this is very unfair. The guy only did it once, and he was actually even taking the cash for just a few weeks. And then, why suddenly the guy did the audit and then he find himself in trouble? Life is very unfair. Yes, life is very unfair, and I totally agree with you. And it's because of the unfairness of life, you really want to stick to your life principles so that you reduce the possibility of life unfairness to hit you and knock you down. Last thing that I wanted to tell you is, if you want to reduce the number of mistakes in your life, always start with the end in mind. That seems very counterintuitive, right? Many people usually start with the beginning in mind, and that makes sense, right? You're starting something. Why should you think about the end? You should first and always think about the beginning. But this is the catch. You should not get into a pipe. You cannot get into a tunnel without knowing whether that pipe or tunnel has an exit. You cannot do that. It would not make sense. That's the same thing when you're doing something. When you're getting ready to do something, always ask yourself how this is going to end. Before even starting the thing that you want to start, always ask yourself how the thing that I'm about to start is going to end. And if you think about the end, the possibilities of how this thing can end, if you really don't like one of the ending, then make sure that you don't take any actions which will lead you to that end. The problem is we usually don't think about the end, and then we take actions, and once we already in the action, then we start thinking whether there is an exit. Most of the time it's just too late. Think about this man who decided to go to a party. You go to this party, you get to the party, you have a lot of beautiful women, young men smoking drugs. You've never done that. But because you have nice music, you have a lot of lights everywhere, people are hype, you think that, you should also do it because that's what people are now doing. Why you shouldn't do it? But if you really think about it and you ask yourself, smoking cocaine tonight, what is that going to lead me at the end in 3 months, in 6 months, in 1 year? I'm sure that you will not like the end. And that could actually prevent you from taking the first smoke at the cocaine. Because many people who are today trapped in drugs, many of those people never thought that they would become at some point dependent, completely addicted to those drugs. Why? Because for the first time they were smoking that drug, they never really thought about what and how this thing could end. The same thing goes for the man or the woman who decide to become unfaithful. When you see the handsome man or the beautiful lady, at that moment, you should really think about how this is going to end. Not whether you're going to sleep with that person. That's really the beginning of it. The end is how do you guys continue after sleeping together? Do you stop? Are you sure that the lady is going to be willing to stop? And even if she stops, are you sure that she's not going to tell your wife? And even if she doesn't tell your wife, what about if she becomes pregnant? So if you start thinking about all the possible endings of being unfaithful at the moment where you're about to do that, I'm sure that in many cases, you will refrain from doing it. So always start with the end in mind, always asking yourself, how this is likely to end, and that will determine whether you should do it or not. I hope that you really liked the video. If you really enjoyed it, please like it, comment. I like when you guys comment the video and share the video. Stay bold, trust yourself, trust God, stay blessed. See you next week. Bye.